All right, we'll call the meeting to order. First order of business is approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Okay. February 11th.
February 11th.
All right. Second. Anybody? All's in favor? Aye. All opposed? Abstain. All right. And we need to introduce a couple of people here for, I think, Lillian's sake at least. We have Superintendent Cheryl Stanton, or incoming. Facilities Manager John Sullivan. Anybody else? I think everybody else is known on these. Okay, we have another set of minutes. There's two. Yep, February 24th. So I want to make a motion to approve the minutes for February 24th.
So moved. Second.
All right, thank you. And all in favor? Aye.
Abstention.
All right.
I abstain too. I wasn't present.
Chris and John abstain. Okay. Good. So next order of business, Colliers. Alan will give us an update and let us know what's going on.
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate everybody. Good turnout, good vote.
I was hoping somebody would do that.
Yeah, it's, yes, yeah, I mean, it's always good when something like that happens, so, you know, and well-deserved, a lot of hard work went into it. And it was interesting because I was putting together a new schedule going forward, our roadmap, and I wanted to pull out our old schedule, just kind of show you, because you're never going to see this one again. But the good news is that these dates never changed through this year and a half or 2 years that we worked on this. So, I mean, and that's part of the process, is to keep this thing on schedule, and which is no easy task. So give you guys a big pat on the back for making that end date, and everything stayed on track, and we're very successful there. With that, what I've done is given you a new roadmap, and I've kind of shown you this before, but this is the new one, and this is from the project now in design development through project closeout. So for next few years anyway, we have about 3 years on this schedule. And you can see the flag where it says current status of today's date, where we are, and the design team is starting into the design development phase. We also, once they finish that, we also have construction documents that have to take place, and that's a 9-month process roughly that's going to be taking place. And with 3 submissions going into the MSBA, we have to put in the DD, and then 60% CD, and then the 90% CD. And in each one of those phases, we're going to have 2 estimates done, one both blind, but one by the architect's estimator and one by your estimator that we manage for you. And we're going to do refinements to those estimates as we go through this, and as the documents get developed and more refined, that make sure we stay within budget. That's our other 3-legged stool here. We got schedule, budget, and quality, and you got to have all 3 legs to keep that stool up. So those are the things that are. That's my job to make sure that happens. The other big thing that's happening here is down on about 3/4 of the way down that blue line of pre-qualification. It takes about 3-4 months for pre-qualification on a project over $10 million in the Commonwealth, and we have to pre-qualify the file submitters as well as the general contractors. There'll be a lot of interest in this project, and a lot of people that have to be vetted to make sure that they're the type of people you want bidding on this project. So that process is going to start taking place toward the end of August, and be done finally before we put the documents out to bid. But then you can see that the construction is including the time period for closeout is approximately 24 months from start, from groundbreaking, and about 19 months of actual building construction, which gets us finished up for September of 2018 for the students to move in. So that's it. That's in a nutshell. We're going to track this all the way along as we go through our meeting dates. And the meeting dates that you can see along the top there in red, and then the yellow ones are special meeting dates where we'll need everybody to meet on an off normal meeting date, just because we have a submission going into MSBA, and we'll need a vote for those submissions before they go in. So that's pretty much it as far as the schedule has to pertain to the schedule.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
At what point in that 24-month period do you foresee, because the new building in front of East Meadow is happening before the renovation, At what point do you see that section being completed as opposed to the front end and the renovation started?
That's a great question. We have more schedules to develop here, and one of them will be, as the documents get developed, the design team will be putting together a plan of action for bidding the project and as phasing the project, and that's part of that phasing. So within that phasing, we'll be looking at that time period as to, okay, how long is it going to take for the new building to get complete, and then how long is it going to take for the renovation portion to be complete. So that hasn't all been worked out just yet. We could probably tell you, but it would be meaningless at this point in time. But good questions.
Stay tuned.
There'll be a lot more detailed stuff that's going to come forward here besides just some pretty colored lines on a piece of paper that we can share with you. The next order of business under the Colliers was a contract update. With what's transpired, we finished up feasibility schematic design study portion, so the contract that we had with the design team and with Colliers for that is expiring. Basically, and we asked the design team to come up with a new proposal for their services. They've gotten that back to us. It's the number that we carried in the 3011, which is our budget form that we submitted with schematic design. And we have sent that through to the town administrator for him to share with Mark and discussion on that. With that also, the OPM's contract, the contract was there for feasibility, but we've also put in an amendment for our services through the end of the project for monitoring design development, construction documents, and then where we're heavy on our services is during construction. That MSBA requires that we have a construction representative on site full time during the construction process. So somebody that's totally 100% dedicated in the trailer, watching everything that's going on for the quality of the work, making sure it's adhered to. We also have other people. Myself, I don't go away. Mel Overmeyer, the principal, doesn't go away. We have technical people that get involved and start doing design reviews at every stage. Look at the estimates that are being done. So a whole lot of people that are behind the scenes that you don't see, but the heavy thrust of our proposal is in the construction phase of services for the period of the 18 months, or actually the 24 months, including the closeout. So those have been sent to the town administrator, as I said. I don't know if there needs to be further discussion on that, but we've gotten, it has to go to the first the selectmen's meeting on Monday night for final approval for both the design team and for the OPM going forward.
So, given you said you're heavy in this construction closeout here, that's the red bar here?
That's the red bar there.
Who is, and what's the kind of person that gets assigned to the trailer on a daily basis? What skills are they bringing? What are they actually doing every day?
Right,
I'm just curious, I just don't know.
Right, they're somebody that's been, I'm not a construction person, I'm not the kind of person that's been in a field a long time in my career. I'm more a design person from my background. This is a person that's been involved in construction all their lives, that works with contractors and oversees their schedules, their 2-week look-aheads, their entire project schedule, talks to them about, looks at submittals that go in, looks at change orders, proposed change orders that would come forward that have to be vetted and looked at if there's value there or negotiate them down. That's the type of person that we have. We have plenty of them. We have a staff of 70 people in our firm that of various makeups, but that's the kind of person from our firm that's going to be out there full time. The dirty boots, and the work shirt and the khaki pants type person.
So it's a seasoned person,
That's
it's not a 22-year-old.
No. We have very few 22-year-old people.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but...
No, understood. No, these are people that have been in the construction industry themselves for a long time. A lot of them are building officials, ex-building officials that we have on site, on our staff that do this now. So they know what to look for when they're reviewing plans, and they know the tricks that the contractors are up to, some of the contractors are up to as far as what they're trying to get away with. They're your eyes and ears out there full time, and MSBA's.
And not to push the issue, but can any of you just give me like one example of some sort of interaction that would take place during this phase between this person who's there every day and who I think is representing us or the state, I don't know.
Both.
And You know, like what is that interaction, that back and forth that occurs? That
So we'll have bi-weekly team meetings at
Yeah.
the site. So we'll come and meet, and the contractor will be there, usually the project manager, and the OPM representative will be there.
Okay.
So that's when you can solve a lot of issues, just talking through the schedule, talking through quality control issues. We've had OPMs, some things like checking the temperature when they're doing masonry work, making sure that
Okay.
they're adhering to the specifications on when that work should occur.
Or pouring concrete.
Pouring
Things like that.
concrete.
Yeah, look at that.
All right.
Taking a lot of pictures, just the eyes and ears on the site. which
So this
is
person's
very
a
helpful.
PE, is that?
No, not necessarily a PE, but, somebody that is a construction person, has been in that profession, has been on other MSBA projects. There won't be anybody green to an MSBA project. The project manager that we're talking about is Tim Alex. You've met him at maybe 1 or 2 meetings earlier on. My focus has been to get us through the feasibility schematic design stage, but like I said, I don't go away. I stay very much involved through the design development. Tim will now start getting involved in design development and then get more heavily involved in the construction document phase, where I will probably back out some of my hours. And those hours were part of the proposal we sent forward to map out how those what percentages of our weeks are going to be used on this project and the hours allocated to that. And again, different from the design team, which is a lump sum fee, we are hourly. We cannot bill. We're capped at that proposal that we sent in. And if we look at the feasibility study phase of that, we're under budget for you right now. There's I think the last invoice that went in on March 1st or February 29th. We're about $35,000 under what we were budgeted to spend. We do have this month to fill that in, but we're probably going to not spend easily $15,000 of your money in that phase. That goes back to the project. So the same will be with the next phase of services. We want to make sure we have enough to do the job and do the job right, but will we spend it all? I can't tell you right now. If we get a difficult contractor, and it becomes a very difficult job, we could spend it all, and we could do it at a loss. We have a very good contractor that is in there to get the thing built and move on to their next job. We won't spend it all.
So those contractors will be depending on the bids? Is that how it's going to work?
It's a hard bid, so
I guess what I'm trying to understand is this. The way I look at it, I look at the work that you do, but also I look at the experience that you bring. When you say that you may bump into a contractor who may not do the job the way you expect them to do, that means that it's not always under your control to pick the contractors. It's dependent on the bidding process.
It
Is
is,
that how it
the
goes?
mass procurement law is
Okay.
that if we pre-qualify them and they're allowed to bid the job and they bid it low, you have a choice to not take that low bid, but you're going to take money out of your contingency, or you're going to take money out of some budget to go to the next highest bidder that you want. And it may be something you want to do, and we'll be talking to you about that option. But a lot of contractors, or not a lot of contractors, some contractors will bid a job under what it should take to do the job, and then change order you to death through the whole thing. It's the last thing you want. You really want someone who's going to give you a number to build that building, and not throw a lot of change orders in your face that are just made up. It just makes for a contentious relationship in the job trailer, on the site. If they're not paying their subs, the subs aren't manning the job, they aren't showing up. Then you have a manpower issue on top of a performance issue. It's a bad scenario. We try to make sure that doesn't happen, but we're governed by mass procurement laws as to how this is going to go out.
Thanks.
But you guys must know who the contractor, there's only so many contractors that are gonna bid this thing, right? So you must have some sense for who they are. You guys work in this industry, you have some
Yes.
idea,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Who the good ones are and where the problems are, right?
We do. Typically the bad ones don't end up keeping their DCAM certification, that they end up being bounced by the state. We have a recent example in where we had to fire the contractor halfway through the job. You know, it's not pleasant. I've never done it in my career till this time. But they did get, they lost their DCAM certification. Hopefully they never get it back. But we know the good ones that are around here that wanted to work. But things change, you know, people change, businesses change, and it's all fluid.
A lot of it depends on the team that you get. So even if you've heard bad things about a contractor, sometimes you get their best people and it works out well. So there's some variables.
As part of all the pre-qualification is they have to submit who their team is and that their team's going to stay on, and you know, what their team has experience in, and you know, where they worked prior to that. We call, we do all the reference checking. You know, that's why it's 4 months to vet this before we allow them to be pre-qualified. But it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee.
Okay, any other questions?
Based on Sunderland Elementary School, this is incredibly necessary. No clerk of the works for that project, and that's why that went so wrong.
So did you have the roof collapse?
It was after I was there, but it happened during February vacation. It was a bloody good thing, because kids would have been seriously injured.
And it was a construction, the
Trusses were too far apart.
okay, not by design, but by because of the contractor.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah, they also, and everybody pointed fingers at themselves. Somebody put a sprinkler pipe outside. It froze just before they occupied the building. It flooded the building with 215,000 gallons worth of water. And when the roof collapsed, they found dry rot in the building. That's why no wood, no siding, brick, I'm telling you.
Durable
It's what's
materials,
happening. Yeah.
50-year buildings. Yeah.
Yep.
How does that happen? I mean, if you think about it, I mean, you have an OPM that's sort of verifying, you have the,
No, it was
There
before.
were-
Sunderland did not have
Did
one.
not have to.
okay.
Yeah.
Before that.
But you even have like building inspectors that are supposed to approve, so I mean, I don't understand how that kind of stuff happens.
Well, even in mass procurement law, I mean, if you wanted to, and you had some of these MCPPOs certified, you wouldn't need me here. You could do it yourself. You know, I'm an extension of the town. I'm
Right.
part of, yeah. So you don't have to, you know, do what I do every day.
That was before the moratorium and the switch over from
do.
DOA.
Yeah, Sunderland.
Too much.
It's the worst built building I've ever seen.
That happened before the DOA used to manage all the projects,
Okay.
and then there's a moratorium, and then they started with SBA.
It was under
So-
SBA.
Yeah.
It was under SBA. School building authority.
I would say the process works pretty well now. That, you know, if everybody does their job, and
Yeah.
you know, you weed out the bad,
Right.
the ones,
Yeah.
it works pretty well. Yeah, there'll be change orders on this. There's, you know, especially with a renovation portion of it. Well, there'll be things that we didn't expect to encounter, but you manage it. And we have enough contingency, and we will have enough contingency in there to cover it, so you stay within budget on from start to finish.
All right, excellent. Okay, Christian.
Sure.
Ellen?
I'm gonna go over and keep asking questions like this because we forget what you guys don't know about
Although we
building
know.
a building. And well, you don't do it every day, right? And actually, we all don't. I mean, these projects take a long time, as Alan has already demonstrated by his schedule. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what we're doing in this phase. Design development is pretty descriptive name in terms of what we're doing. I think it's helpful to think of this along that same continuum line. I mean, basically our job is to produce a set of instructions for your project, right? So that's drawings and specifications that allow a builder to take it and give you exactly what you expected. So right now, we finished schematic design. The set of drawings is over there. It's about yay thick. I mean, to put it in kind of dumb terms, the next phase, this one, design development, will probably get about this thick. At the end of the construction documentation phase, you're going to have a really big volume and specs, 2 volumes worth. Because we have to spell out every single expectation in terms of quality, types of materials, we have to allow for 3 equals in the specifications. So in design development, schematic design, you can say we're about 15 to 20% through the documentation. The end of design development, 35, 40%. And then, as Alan already pointed out, we're gonna have 2 submissions to the MSBA during construction documentation at 60 and 90. And again, those are just good opportunities to check on budget. You know, we'll do the estimating again. Same with design development at the end of, towards the end of this phase, which ends June 14th. We submit to the MSBA for DD on June 14th. We will again do a cost estimating, as Alan has already mentioned, the 2 estimators, dueling estimates, the reconciliation, and make sure that we're still on track with the budget. The cost has been set at schematic design. I think we have to keep reiterating that. That is our number, the number that was set, the number that people voted on, that's our number, that's it. So all of these checks are really helpful along the way as we continue to get into more detail with documentation, that we're still on track. If we end up spending more in one category, then it's got to come out of some other category. It's as simple as that. Those are our marching orders.
And we do that during these estimates. When we do these estimates, we look for value, what we call value engineering items, and we make note of each and every one of those items and carry it forward so that we see, okay, do we have to take that item? Do we have to give you the same scope of work with a different material, say, and we talked about this with, say, concrete curving versus granite curving or something along those lines. They're not painful. Most of them aren't painful, but they're there as a safety belt.
Right. So in this phase, as we get started, we're planning on meeting with our consultant team. We're having a big meeting on Tuesday. We're going to have weekly check-ins with them. This is the part of the project we really get into a lot of coordination with everybody: mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, civil and landscape. Who am I missing? Structural, yeah, structural. We need structural. And some lesser players, if you want to call them that, the food services consultant, the person's going to help us with the kitchen design, furniture, fixtures, and equipment consulting. We're going to get a technology consultant on board, and acoustics. Yeah, so making sure we optimize acoustics in the classrooms and the building as a whole. So some things that will get involved more specifically with you, and so this is what we handed out to our consultants. This is our sort of roadmap for this phase in terms of what we hope to accomplish. So it gets pretty arcane and pretty into things you may not understand what the meanings are, in terms of what scale something needs to be drawn at. But at least at the top of the architectural, we just wanted to point out things like we will be meeting with your code officials again, your police and fire people, because again, as we continue to develop the design, questions will arise, things will come up, we're going to need their input, and it's also good policy to involve them early, because they're going to be here for the duration. Things will come up in construction. The better they are aware of your project and what the expectations are, is better for everyone. We've already met with Jen and Judy and Cheryl last week to start talking about how we want to work with teachers, staff, with John in terms of getting some really detailed meetings together to review furniture layouts, casework, how are the classrooms going to work, how are all of these spaces going to work in terms of usages and what needs to be in them. And also in this phase, we're going to get into more detail on LEED. We do have to LEED certified as a baseline. We've targeted LEED Silver for this project. So we do have to register the project with the USGBC. We're planning on doing that this month. But again, as this phase unrolls a bit, we're going to get into a lot more details about what the sustainable and green features of the building are. So that's kind of where we are. With all of this, we really need you and your input. And maybe the next thing to talk about is this piece of paper in terms of frequency of meetings and how we want to involve people. Does anyone have questions about our work during DD? Oh, we'll need some.
The whole set or just?
Just the stuff, yeah, maybe that I can.
Two.
Yeah, just that.
And,
Thank you.
So Alan has already noted the meetings on the overall schedule. This committee has been meeting on a monthly basis. But we believe we're going to need more interaction maybe not with all of you, maybe it's a subcommittee sort of setup, and it's something we want to get some conversation going around tonight. Essentially, we'd be looking at meeting every couple of weeks. Maybe maintain the monthly for the full committee. So it's, I guess, design issues is maybe the right focus for this subcommittee, if you choose to go to a subcommittee format.
Could you tell us a little bit more about what the subcommittee would do?
Sure. I mean, it's going to be getting into more detail, which isn't to say that anything the subcommittee discusses won't get presented to the whole group, but things like detailed the classroom layouts, getting into more detail with the finishes. What do we have here? The technology consultation, input on that. Really specifics on the cafeteria, gym, art, music, media center. I mean, really zooming into detail into specific functions of the building.
Right. I think as we develop the design, so we'll start, excuse me, by updating the plan. So we'll make some changes from schematic design, probably nothing too earth-shattering, but certainly some changes. And then we'll work on starting to show you some interior elevations so you can get a feel of what those materials are, what the space looks like, you know, how much daylight is coming into the rooms, what the windows look like. We'll start talking about exterior materials. We'll come around to the exterior elevations. You'll get a sense of those materials and what that starts looking like. So it's just kind of as we develop the design, we want to check in with a certain percentage of you so that we're sure that we're going down the right path and we have your buy-in and that you know, you're in approval with what the direction that we're headed.
Do most committees use a subcommittee?
Yes. Yeah, most committees that we're involved in meet once a month, and the subcommittee reports back at the school building committee meetings as to what transpired. So there's full knowledge of what goes on. We see the people that are really critical are the principals, the teachers, you know, interested people that have something that have a vested interest and they really want to see the details of this project worked out.
Mm-hmm.
Have an understanding.
Do we nominate the 5 committee members more every day to be there?
Well, I think we have to decide first of all if we're going to have a subcommittee. So if somebody wants to make a motion that we appoint a subcommittee to address it, we can discuss
The
it.
subcommittee is going to meet twice a month,
Off
and
weeks.
you're going to have material for the full committee to meet once a month?
Yes.
Right.
That's our plan.
I think just based on the volume of things we feel we need input on, we're saying we need to meet every 2 weeks with a group of people, which again, isn't to say that the full committee won't know what's going on. That's our goal. And I'm going to throw one more thing into this. So it's kind of bigger picture design related issues. We've also talked to Judy and Jen about colors and finishes as another potential subcommittee. And you should think about, you know, how many SBC members you need on these subcommittees. For sure, colors and materials, you want staff buy-in because those are the things they're going to be touching and feeling every day and looking at every day. So that's another area where a subcommittee is often very useful.
Right.
And those colors and materials will be brought back to this committee.
Yep.
To review and to approve before it's finalized.
So there'd be a subcommittee though, but not like we'd appoint people from the committee for
We can
that.
do that also. It doesn't have
Or
to
we
be-
would appoint
you know,
people, we would appoint teachers. I just,
Well, I would say that probably you'll have a hard time getting teachers to come to like evening meetings or whatever else. So if the subcommittee emanated from this group who could then be people
Reach
who
out.
would have time to
Okay.
reach out to teachers in some way, shape, or form, that might be a road to go down.
all right, so we're talking about 2 subcommittees.
Doesn't have to be 2. It could just be 1. I mean, we're in construction in Northborough. It's an elementary school. It's addition remodel, very similar program that you have. The design team there met with the principal, and the principal picked some select teachers from the different grades to be part of those meetings to talk about the details. It could be as simple as that they're working on their own, and we report back as to how those meetings went to this committee every month, and what decisions came out of those meetings. It does not have to be a subset of this group that has to go and spend time doing that.
But having some representation, I would recommend, just because you guys have a different maybe way of, and you're aware of the big picture in terms of the budget and whatnot.
Thoughts?
When do you, like, what's the best time for these meetings?
Well, typically it's what works for the school. So it'd be, you know, Jen, her teachers, you know, okay, we get the students go home at 3:15, you know, we can meet at 3:30 to 4:30 to talk about this, depending on the day of the week or what other activities are going on. You know, it's totally, we want to make this as painless as possible and work with your schedule. I mean, you have a lot on your plate already, I'm sure, besides, you know, having this.
There are plenty of stuff.
But if we're gonna have teachers, I agree with Judy that we should make it as early as possible, so they don't have to wait till 6:30 for a meeting.
Right.
On the plus side, we already have folks from the schools anyway, so even if we're gonna have representation from this committee, we'll already have that, right? So.
I could bring whatever back, like whatever we're talking about. And I like how you mentioned in that other school there was a representatives from all the different grade levels. I also think that we need representation because, you know, when we start to talk about like the specialists, like art, music, like all those.
OTPP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those types of people that you really do have to have them in there as to what the needs are, because those are specialized
Right.
programs.
Right.
The-
And those people could potentially participate on an as-needed basis. It
Right.
wouldn't necessarily need to be
Yeah,
part
I mean,
of that
people can
committee.
come and,
Yeah.
come and go in and out of that.
And have a core that is sort of.
You have to have a core and a leader of that, and you have to think about summertime, that, you know, they go on vacation. And a lot of this work is gonna happen during the summer months, that we have to continue the meetings.
So I would make a motion that this committee appoints a subcommittee to handle that work.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right.
The subcommittee was to handle,
Both functions.
so two subcommittees.
No.
One subcommittee, two duties.
Yep. The design.
Design. You know,
Design.
it's color and.
Colors, finishes,
Colors,
and design
finishes.
issues.
Yeah.
Can we get like fuzzy?
They're all gonna be one.
Yeah.
Two different issues.
Fuzzy walls,
No,
Two jobs, one committee. How's
Fuzzy
that?
walls, squishy budgets, you know.
Okay.
All right. For membership, I would definitely suggest Jennifer.
Probably the two-headed superintendent.
Okay.
Whichever head happens to be there at the time.
I think
And Deborah, I think,
Deb Barthel? All right. I'm thinking Jim Morrissey would probably want in on
Yeah,
that.
I think he'd be great.
And typically, it's prefer to have an odd number of people on a committee.
We're all on. But don't assume- No, you're not on it. But if you're nominating yourself, I'll second
no, they're
that.
not voting, no, I mean, so right there.
Not voting?
Yeah.
Jen, Deborah, Jim, Judy, and, you know, whomever, yeah, that's the core.
Okay.
And then you have to pull people in and out as you know, whatever the discussion is for that week that needs to be talked about.
Okay.
So you're gonna keep it at 4?
Yes.
Sounds good to me. I don't feel like I need to be on it. Do you want to be on it? You probably wouldn't be able to when work with your
Yeah,
schedule anyway.
a difficult thing for, you know.
So 4 being Judy, Cheryl, Deb, Jen, and who else? Jim.
Jim
Jim
Morrissey.
Morrissey, yeah.
So we count the two of you as one.
That's it. Two-headed
We got two.
superintendent.
It might be helpful to have John included also, from a standpoint if we look at
Oh, sure.
colors, materials, in terms of durability and maintenance.
John, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Just kidding.
John's our facilities manager. He's also a graduate of Granby School, so, and he's doing a great job.
You got that right.
So, he doesn't need to speak.
He
I
is.
was gonna ask if you can just show up though to this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, we're gonna appoint you.
You're gonna have to be there.
It's an open meeting, so everything we do is open
Yeah.
meeting.
That's what we do, we just show up.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got our committee. Unless Jim decides or Deb decides they really, really don't want to do it, I think we'll be all set. All right, anything else?
So are these the dates?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask
Yeah.
that.
Oh, dates,
These are
thank you.
tentative dates right now.
Right, I mean, we have just kind of gone to the Thursdays, so.
You have some Wednesdays and some Thursdays.
They're not?
No, the 7th is a Thursday.
Okay.
And the
They're not Thursdays. All right.
And the 31st is a Thursday.
Okay, thank you. Let's do more.
All right,
So we're looking at an SBC meeting, a full SBC meeting on March 30th or April 6th, is that on the
No.
So,
That's
now,
what we're scratching.
Yeah.
so on this list, the ones that are starred are not scheduled per Alan's schedule. So our next SBC meeting is April 21st.
First.
Okay,
So we're
For
aiming
this
for
day.
somewhere kind of in between there.
okay.
So it doesn't-
Yeah, and if that doesn't work for, Jen, Deborah, and the people involved there, I mean, that's something you can
Right.
Okay.
change around.
All right,
Yeah, we'll probably need to wait for them to schedule it, right?
right.
We'll send an email out.
Okay.
And do it that way.
And this is separate from the teacher meetings that, yeah,
Right. What else I need to do?
we have lots of demands. Great, thank you.
okay, good. So this whole committee will be meeting on the 21st, and the subcommittee will be sometime between now and then. All right. Good, anything else?
What about that May 5th date? Is that a possibility?
Again, it was just like
Somewhere
almost
in
down
between
right in
the
the
two.
middle, so it doesn't have to be that date, same
Okay,
issue.
because we've planned Title I parent night for
Okay.
that night at the elementary level, so just, that's a big night.
And this committee's gonna meet during the day though, probably?
I'll be
Yeah,
at 3:30.
I think this, yeah,
Yeah.
or even like 2:45.
Oh, that's
2:30.
fine. Yeah, the
Yeah.
earlier, the better, Just want to make sure you get
Yeah.
done with your normal duties of the day.
Yeah, everything is done at the school at 2:45.
Okay.
Unless
Okay.
it's not, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
They did.
Are we meeting the same time on the 21st? 6:30, is that what it is?
Yeah, that would be, unless we want to adjust that.
I have a quick question on the lead stuff. So the way you said it, I got the impression that there is still some work to do, and there is, however small it might be, there's a risk that we may not get it. Is that?
We don't have a choice, we have to.
We
Right.
have to get it.
Baseline certified, and we've targeted silver for the extra reimbursement.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
So-
calculated into our cost.
And that's exactly what I'm asking. So,
Yeah.
but there's no risk to that side, right? Just if we don't get this lead
Mhm.
silver,
Mhm.
is it going to impact the financing side as well?
It could,
It could, yeah.
yes. And that's reliant on us doing our due diligence and getting as many points as possible. It's also reliant on the contractor. We'll have to report points during the construction process. So we'll be tracking that carefully, but it's an unknown.
Okay.
It's a pretty safe bet, though, that we've all done lead projects before, so you know the tripwires, you know you just know what to put into specifications to the contractor, say you will do this, you will report on, where the waste is going off-site and how you're managing it. It's not something you should be overly concerned with right now.
And when would the financing take place? The funding, bonding, and all that stuff?
We're currently working with bond counsel and the fiscal agent to get the paperwork together.
And Chris, does that happen? All those activities, are they simultaneous with all these construction activities, or do we have to wait until the bidding happens and everything? Okay. It's independent. Good. Thank you.
All right, anything else? I'm happy to say, ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?